Welcome to Just Minding My Business. I'm so happy that you joined us today. Today, we're in conversation with Jordan Whelan, who is the founder of Gray Smoke Media. With a background as a TV and radio producer and publicist, he has managed over 3 billion in class action claims, communications. He spent a decade mastering media buying, managing over 50 million in spend, and digital marketing, achieving the proverbial 10,000 hours of practice. Wow, you've been more than busy.
I've been a busy boy, yes.
Yeah, so welcome to the show. And I am so honored to have you here because your work, it basically is in helping the lawyer industry.
Yeah.
And that's very, very unusual that we interview somebody that's in that space. So tell me a little bit about how you arrived there.
So I started in media, as you mentioned, the radio and television production about a little over probably 12 years ago. Taught myself the ins and outs of how to make a radio show, how to make a television show, and then I moved over to newspapers. And what I learned in that experience was the immense value in earned media, not just in driving leads for businesses, but just the credibility associated with piggybacking off of these major media corporations. And so I started I was at one PR firm, but then I decided to start my own, which is obviously Gray Smoke Media. My first client was a law firm called Diamond and Diamond. They were probably less than 50 people, but it's when personal injury advertising had really just sort of taken off in Canada. It was
Mhm.
already massive in America. I'm sure everyone listening has seen the billboards, the buses, the radio ads. And I took that client on, and they said, "Would you do our PR for us?" And so we were able to get media hits and leverage those. And then as they grew very rapidly, they said, "Would you also be able to do our media buying?" And I said, "What's that?" And I basically had to teach myself that. And then they said, "Hey, would you help us with our SEO?" And then, "Hey, would you help us with our reputation management?" And I sort of did my own little education for a decade where I taught myself the ins and outs of all those. And as I grew that law firm, they're now the biggest personal injury firm in Canada, the biggest real estate law firm in Canada. And then we've expanded to about 600 people, 19 offices across the country. And I've taught myself along the way each of these different subsets of marketing. And then for about a decade or so, Gray Smoke Media was sort of a generalized marketing agency where you could come and we would offer a custom solution. And then about 2 years ago, I rebranded it to a legal marketing agency, although I do take on sort of other clients sometimes because I realize that a lot of lawyers need help. They are often pompous and they are often distracted and they need someone to take the weight off their hands.
Yes, yes. And I have to agree with you on that because I would imagine as a lawyer, you got caseloads, you've got so many other important things that you need to focus on. And, marketing just sort of goes to the wayside, uh, in terms of, I mean, we see them on television, we see them on billboards and things like that, but having somebody run um that whole area is huge.
Hmm.
It's
Definitely.
very huge because I already know in the industry that I'm in, marketing is a lot of your day.
Definitely. And a lot of people don't want to take it on, right? And lawyers actually, once you build up the trust with them, are actually great clients because they're very busy. They're billing by the hour. They don't
Mhm.
bother you with small things or emotionalism. They really just come to you and say, "What are the numbers and how can I improve?" And that's very much how I operate. It's just, I just give the numbers because they cannot be editorialized or there's not discussion. It's just, "Hey, we made you this much this month." And I like doing business like that. And so I've grown to I've come accustomed to their idiosyncrasies and how to deal with them properly.
Yes, yes, because they're just straight to the point. What am I looking like this month?
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, I like that better than, I was having anxiety in the shower last night about this thing that doesn't matter, and would you talk to me for 45 minutes about it? And I don't really operate like a therapist, so I just kind of set up the boundaries that way. And I love the client that calls me and says, "Hey, I got 5 minutes. Give me the scoop."
Yeah.
And that works for me.
Yes, that works for me too. Yeah, so let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make in the marketing industry. I know you have some horror stories that you could talk about.
Oh, I mean, how much time do we have? I think he said 30 minutes. I mean, I could do 5 hours. Um, the biggest thing is ego. I think a lot of people think that they're more important than they are. They think their business is more interesting than it is. They think that somehow people are going to flock to them instead of their competitor just because they've worked hard, and that's not enough. I think the first thing that people fail to realize is that you need to have something unique about you that you're selling, unique value proposition. So you're not just a law firm. How do you make people feel? And the best way to do that is to mimic entertainers. People like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, they're so popular because the music is great, but it's about how they make people feel. Beyonce makes people feel empowered, and businesses can evoke these sort of emotions too, but they have to put the time into what exactly are we selling here? If it's a law firm, are we approachable? Are we a family law firm? Do we have a great track record? And sit down and sort of figure that out. And then after you've done that, you're sort of building a website and a brand, everything from the colors to the fonts around how do I want someone to feel. I mean, when you go to graysmokemedia.com, my website, it's pretty clear that I'm selling a upper echelon marketing firm based on the way that I have presented it with lighting, fonts, etc. And so many clients come to me and I look at their website. I mean, the way Gray Smoke Media works is we don't take clients on that are infancy stage. We're
Mhm,
taking on someone who's, hey, I've done really well in my town, but I'd like to dominate my state, or I'd like to become a market leader in another area.
mhm.
And so that's big. And then the other thing is, I'm a big proponent of SEO. So I'd say the biggest mistake that people fail to do is allocate a budget for SEO. If you think of
Yeah.
why Google's so successful, I mean, it's capturing people's psychology. It's at the exact moment of saying, I want this thing, show it to me, act as a conduit to take me to business A. And that traffic's already there, right? It might be 100,000 searches per month in your industry, and you aren't even gobbling that up. Just small changes to your local Google page can be responsible sometimes for $10,000, $20,000 extra new business per month.
Mhm. Absolutely, yes. Because I set up my Google page way back when, and like you, I'm teaching myself, along the way, and I'm liking that because when I do hire somebody to do this work, I know a little something, something. They just can't tell me anything, and I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Because I like to educate myself around that. Now, let's talk about SEO in 2025 and beyond. What is that going to look like?
A lot of people are going to lose a lot of traffic, right? So what's happening with Google now, they're mimicking ChatGPT. So at the top of the Google results, if I'm Googling, I used to Google how many cups do I need for this recipe that I'm making for this. And we call it the zero position. Now the generative AI of Google is giving you that answer at the very top in a couple sentences. And so they're not then clicking through to your website and they're not reading it, and you're losing that traffic, right? I'm not coming to your website. I'm just getting what I need. And so I had a client that was driving 6,000 hits a month just from their blog, just really high quality content that we had provided. And they lost the traffic. And I had to basically tell them that not only was it gone, it's not coming back and it's not going to their competitors. This is the new reality. Now, the way that we overcome that is we create content, not even just podcasts, videos where people are moving away from reading. Their
Mhm.
attention spans have disintegrated. They're moving towards this. But also, what will always counter AI is human, anything with compassion, anecdotes. So I tell people if you're going to write a blog about your law firm, tell a personal story, tell the story of how you grew the business, because that's not something that AI is going to mimic, or it's not something that people are going to quickly, just look for the facts on.
Yeah.
Um, and we're also going to see SEO, we're going to see a lot more voice searches, we're going to see a lot more video. So people should be optimizing their images and their videos to realize that, YouTube results, TikTok results are now showing up on page one of Google. So if you're not making video content at this point, you're going to be left behind, especially with the younger generation, where I think their attention span is zero point 0.2 milliseconds. I'm pretty sure that's factual at this point.
I'm with you because it's like, I mean, I like to read. Of course, I'm older. I'm not with but I also know running this company that videos is king.
Hmm.
People like pictures, they like something talking to them, telling them what it's all about.
Yep.
You not want to read anything.
No, and it's getting shorter and shorter, right? It's
Yes.
now it's getting worse and worse, and people just scroll like this mindlessly. So, I think if you're not going to do video, you're going to lose out on SEO. You're going to lose out on YouTube traffic. And also, we speak about how SEO is changing. Is that Google's really rewarding people with credibility, right? So experts, authority, trust. They're looking for people that are coming in and have a social media following, have a LinkedIn, have some press about them, and that's factoring into the mix of SEO, which is something that wasn't really the case 5 years ago.
Yes, yes. So SEO as we knew it is definitely changed. And like you said, it's not going back.
No, it's not. But I will say, there's a lot more demand for the local SEO because that can't really go away, right? If I'm looking for Baltimore car accident lawyer, that's a local based search,
Hmm.
and AI is not going to take that away. You still need SEO to connect you from your search to the website.
Yes.
So much more of a focus on local SEO, optimizing local SEO pages. I had a client that we optimized his page, and it probably drove him another $1 million a year, just optimizing his various locations on Google. And it took us maybe not even 3 months. So that's
Wow.
something that's overlooked. You can post content on those pages. People don't do that. They don't update the photos on those. They don't respond to reviews. They don't collect reviews. And that's just wasted traffic that you're just throwing away every month. So to me, that's kind of crazy. That's an easy win that we can tackle with the client and then move on to other things.
Yes, yes. Because my page, when I first started working with it, I set up my I set up the page. Every podcast goes on that page every week
Great.
religiously. And I also, reviews because I wasn't doing it at first. And then as you educate yourself, you find out these little things matter a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, uh, I always say to people when it comes to reviews, you can't you can only get so many friends and family reviews. At the end of the day, you still have to run a great business. And at the end of the day, you get, 20 family friends reviews. But, by the end of the year, you have 200. And if you're the business that doesn't respond to people, doesn't get back to leads, other shady practices, it'll catch up to you eventually because people do not hesitate to share their grievances online.
You got that right.
That's the understatement of the year, I think.
Yeah, so and then those kind of things can be automated because I have it all automated where as soon as I get a review, it goes straight to my email. I respond to it right away. Now, I did at one time I had set up AI and I didn't like that because it wasn't my voice.
Right.
And for each uh review, you have to say something different depending on what the person is saying to you.
Yeah.
You know, and AI was kind of making it a generic thing, and I hurried up and turned that off because that wasn't me.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about how do we conquer AI and how do we, if people are concerned about job losses and stuff like that, well, you focus on what makes you human and stay with that. They're never going to beat out that human compassion, human element. And so, yeah, I mean, I think AI, as it's used now, if you're going to be using it for businesses or responding to reviews, you sort of use it as a tool to just improve you, where you're the baseline. It's
Yes.
your voice, but perhaps you want to make it a little more eloquent or look for some ways to kind of phrase it, and then you use it as sort of a tool, almost like a coworker, is how I would
Mhm.
say it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So how can you neutralize a client's marketing tactic? How do you do that?
So, one of the things about Gray Smoke Media and the background I have, which is sort of a very circuitous route to get to where I am as a legal marketing agency, it's not didn't really follow the correct path, but it worked out. Is I'm a creative person. I mean, we were talking earlier about I sort of live two lives. I have Jordan Whalen, my Gray Smoke Media, and now I'm a singer-songwriter with 4 million streams on Spotify at this point. And I sort of have that left right brain activity, right? Where you can run a business, but I'm a creative person at heart. And
Mhm.
so what comes down to all of this is I'll have someone will contact me and say, "Hey, I have to compete with this competitor, and they're spending $1 million a year, and I've got 400,000. What can you do for me?" And it comes down to creativity at the end of the day. So they can spend 10,000 a month on radio, and you can spend five. But if your creative's better, and I've negotiated certain things in that buy, then it's going to convert better.
Mhm.
And so it comes down to initially, what are we selling? How are we selling it? What is the creative talking about? For example, one of my clients, he did radio ads, and we found out that 70% of women initiate divorces. And so we used that data to then inform how we bought the radio ads. And we also found out that psychologically, most couples fight in the morning. So we decided to hammer the commuter traffic in the morning at around 8:45 in the morning, because that was when people were sort of in a place of considering divorcing their partner. And we phrased the ads in a way that it appealed more to women. And we did some research into what kind of ads and words and things appeal to women. And then we A/B tested them with not only the lawyer's voice, but a female voice. And even with a lower spend, we were able to outperform the competitors. So someone like us, it comes down to creativity. You hire us to come to you to say, how can we work with what we have, and
Mhm.
how can we beat out your competitors? On the SEO side of things, you can also steal a lot of traffic, and you can mimic their content strategy, but just do it better. You can do it with video. You can do it stronger. Um, but this is why you hire an agency, and you try not to do things internally, because a lot of lawyers, particularly, or even anyone that works with us, they just don't have the time to sit and meditate and think and creatively brainstorm up a solution for 12 hours.
Yes, yes, and that's sometimes what it takes.
Hmm.
Yes, indeed, because you need to research, your who you pointing your message to
Right.
and who's going to receive it. So, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So, energetic alignment and preservation. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So Gray Smoke Media is the only all-in-one legal marketing agency in the world, meaning you can come to us and we can do everything from media buying, SEO, reputation management, social media, AdWords. Instead of you hiring three kind of agencies to talk amongst themselves with a lack of symbiosis, that's how we came up with it. But also, what sets us apart is two other things. The first is that we offer AI consulting for law firms. So we teach them how they can improve their internal processes and their marketing, leveraging AI. And that's kind of a new space that's growing right now, because people are figuring out, how can I use this to 3x my business? Everyone's using it. I don't want to get left behind. The third thing that sets us apart is my own practices in metaphysics, spirituality, mindset. And so one of the things that I work with people on a personal basis, I do this on the side to help people, but with clients specifically, is mindset. And some of us have been drilled in with subconscious programming from the age of birth to 7, that we are unworthy of money, that we don't belong, that if we get the money, we'll fumble it, or that we're not as good as other people, or they have it easier. And I work with clients to rewrite these subconscious beliefs, and then I work with them to visualize themselves growing their business, what that would feel like, all the emotions of it energetically. Um, on a spiritual basis, you can look at the work of like Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill, and these and different authors. And so I use a lot of those tactics to get clients out of a fear mindset, a scarcity mindset, into a more of an abundance mindset. And you'd be surprised, a lot of people, will be 60 years old and they've never thought about rewriting their mind or focusing on their mind. They've sort of just been grinding it out and figuring it. And one of the biggest misconceptions that I had to learn when I got into metaphysics was that just because you work harder doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more money, that there's a lot more going on beyond that. And so I help people work the least amount of hours and make the most amount of money by harnessing a lot of these tools to move themselves forward on a professional basis and a personal basis.
And that's critical because your mind controls every aspect of your life.
Yes, your whole
Every,
reality.
yes, what you believe, is true, then in your mind is true.
Yep. I
And
said to my friend the other day, they were looking for some business, and they said, what is your advice? Should I go here? Should I go on TikTok? Should I go here? And I said, sit down, breathe into your heart, feel love, feel gratitude, align with that, align with abundance, the feeling of what it would feel like to be abundance, the ease, because that's usually what we're searching, right? We're not searching for the Ferrari. We're searching for the feeling it would give us, and then we get the Ferrari and we go, I don't even like this anymore. But what we want with that is we actually can make ourselves feel anything right now. So if we want a bigger house with a backyard for the family or the dog, we can make ourselves feel that right now, even if we don't have it. And as we energetically align with that on a quantum basis, opportunities come to us. So I said to my friend, I said, my advice is 20-minute meditation of abundance, what it would feel like, get into your heart center, breathe, envision, and you can actually start to feel that feeling in your body of what it would be like to have 3 times your income right now. And as he did that, within the coming weeks, he just took off financially. And
wow.
I say to people, the reason I launched a music career out of nowhere, no background, no training, it's because I believed. I believed in that I could do it, and I told myself I'm a great songwriter, and I told myself nothing would stop me, and I didn't allow any doubt or fear into my reality. And that is what gets people into a lot of, even if things are might be not be going well, why you don't need to have fear around it. You don't need to have doubt about it because it doesn't change the reality of what's going on. And so that's a whole other facet of business that I think a lot of people need to learn. And so I've started to, on a personal basis, offer that as coaching for clients and then friends pro bono.
Oh, yes, that's awesome because you got to work with your mind. You really do first because it just won't work if you don't. And you're going to struggle. I mean, you're going to go through your ups and downs, but that's all a part of getting to the other side.
Yep.
It's all a part of the journey.
And there's beauty in the pain, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of beauty in the struggle. There's a lot of, evolution on a soul basis. If
Mhm.
you can just really, I mean, I had a chronic illness for 18 years that I cured naturally. And in a way, I say to people, I'm extremely grateful for it. And they can't figure, I lived in hospitals and they can't figure that out. And I said, because I am so much more compassionate to other people who are struggling, and I know how to help them, and I like helping them. And I don't know if I would be that person. I think I'd take a lot more things for granted, but the gratitude comes flowing in when you get to not take medication every day.
Yes, yes. Wow. And gratitude is a huge thing that you really have to make a part of your who you are.
Right.
Because I mean, I keep a journal and daily I write down what I'm grateful for. And what I find, it's not even about me. It's about what I've done for somebody else or how I made somebody else feel better or what I shared with somebody that made a difference. So it's not even about me per se.
Hmm.
And it makes a difference. And when your blessings come, no matter how small, it's something to be grateful for. And when you get into that grateful mindset, it just changes your whole outlook on life.
Yeah, you start to see it everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And it's the highest vibration emotion, right? That gratitude, it brings in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, even moving here from Canada to the US, the living standard is higher, and so people ask me what it's like being here for 3 months, and I say a lot of people are very entitled, and just on a very basic level, it's like be grateful for a roof, be grateful
Yes.
for AC, Wi-Fi. Be grateful for friends and family. Be grateful for the fact that, I'm someone who's take 8 pills a day medication. I don't have to do that anymore. And that alone is, there's always something to be grateful for, but we're constantly comparing ourselves to the person with $3 million house and why aren't we that and we deserve it. And there's where the assault on yourself takes place. And energetically, that is going to block business, that is going to block connections, that is going to keep people from you because you can't pull that energy towards you. You can't be so many people what they think about it with lack, right? They're like, I'll be happy when my business gets another $1 million. And it's like, well, you've just signaled out there energetically that you're in lack and it's not your reality right now. So don't expect that to be reflected back to you in what you meet. You have to feel like it's now.
Yes.
And that's the secret. It's very simple, but it does apply not just on a personal level. It's really important for business. And I think also another thing that's really important to me, and it should be important to a lot of people, is I only do business with people that I personally like, that I think are good to their family, to their friends, to their community. I I have a recipe that's made people, hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. And, I'm not scrambling for business. And if I get the sense that you're a person that will treat me or my staff in a poor manner, I have no interest in working with you on a spiritual basis.
I'm so happy you said that.
Thank you.
I am so happy you said that because I don't want to work with someone that I don't like.
Hmm.
I've got to feel something from you to make me want to do anything for you. And if I'm not feeling that, then it's not worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
worth
we live and then we pass on, and you can't, what's that saying? You can't bring the money with you. So it's like,
it.
what
Yeah,
did you do for your family and your community and the people that you encountered over your time here?
absolutely. So if people want to work with you, how do they connect with you, Jordan?
Sure. So it's greysmokemedia.com. Grey is how the Grace, some people spell it AY. I never knew which one to pick when I made the agency. So greysmokemedia.com. You can book a meeting with me if you want any personal coaching. There's an option there or introductory meeting. We do predominantly work with lawyers, but if I feel like someone is interesting or I think I could help them with a unique solution, I worked with a publicly traded pharmaceutical company last year, just helping them out with something no one else could figure out. People come to us for creativity. So if you feel like you're in the range of someone who's like, I've hired 5 agencies and they're not getting me where they are, we aim to be the last agency you'll ever hire.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. This conversation is more on a spiritual level, I'm feeling,
For sure.
because of where what we're talking about. We're talking about your business, but we're also talking about the ingredients necessary to manifest what it is you want in your company
Yeah.
and in your life.
And it all starts here, right?
Yeah.
We manifest. People think we manifest from looking out in the world in front of us. No, we manifest from our head and our imagination and our heart. And
Yes.
I used to be someone, I wasn't spiritually awake until about a year ago. And so I would have been the person that said, manifesting, what's that? But, you can't even deny, even if it doesn't spiritually connect with certain people, you can't deny what's happening on quantum physics level at this point in terms of particles and collapsing them into probabilities. So it's very real. I can tell you, I have manifested the past year songs on the radio when I have no musical training. And I really encourage people to look into a lot of this stuff. And that's one of the things we will point you in the right direction if you reach out to our agency.
Yes, and I believe because before I purchased my house, it's like I had already bought the furniture. And I didn't even know where the house was going to be. I didn't
Right,
know any of that. I just knew it was going to happen, and it did.
right,
And it tells you that in the Bible.
right.
It definitely tells you that, if you want something, you need to act like you already have it.
Yeah, it's actually in the Bible. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't say like I read the Bible as many other things that I read, but if you read parts of the Bible, it's mentioned multiple times in different
Yes.
ways in the Bible that your brain is creating your reality. And yes, I can tell you. I mean, I have seen the craziest things over the past 6 months. I manifested a move to this country. I knew the building I would live in. I live in it now. I knew where I would live. I knew the city. And one by one, as I killed the doubt and the fear, which is the nightmare, that's constantly telling you, well, this didn't work out in the past. And that's kind of one of the hardest things in life is to conquer that sound of the your past. I mean, it's so important. I tell people, start from no past, no future. That's where you got to be in the present moment, your 0 point when you're doing any sort of manifestation or meditation or
Mhm.
connecting to a higher power. You are at that point of you're stop talking about your past, stop thinking about your past. It's irrelevant. These patterns are irrelevant. Every moment is a new moment, and you have to start from that new moment moving forward.
Yes. And then people also have to understand that thoughts come in pairs. It's
Hmm.
negative and positive.
Right.
And you need to understand what you need to focus on, because it's always going to be negative and positive.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Oh,
that's kind of the beauty of the universe, right? The polarity between the yin and the yang of
yes.
different things. And so I definitely think that. And yeah, and also knowing that telling people you're not your thoughts, you don't have to identify with the negative ones that come your way. You don't need to latch onto them. You don't need to emotionally, there's no I said this to a client, they were having a little dip in the business. I said, nothing is to be gained by reacting to it because what you react to, you energetically grow. And
Mhm.
so you can just say it is what it is, and we're moving forward to this area. But the people that dwell on their past, they dwell on their failures, they dwell on small dips in areas, run into a lot of problems. And if you look at the biggest athletes, you look at people like Serena Williams, Djokovic, you read about them, they always believed that there was no doubt that they were going to win, and they did not allow any contradictory thoughts to come in.
Right.
They just didn't identify with them.
Yes.
And that's a full-time job. You gotta do it every day until your brain
Yeah.
starts aligning in a different way, and you wake up one day in a year and you're a different person.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard work though. It's not easy.
No, it's not. I always say that inside out, you always got to do that inside out work, daily, because as humans, we are easily swayed to the left with the quickness. It's like we will latch on
Yeah.
to something wrong.
We latch on to negativity more than positivity, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Hmm.
do. And it's a fight to always stay in that positive realm because we just prone to latch to the negative.
Absolutely.
Yes. Wow, Jordan. This has been an awesome, awesome discussion. And I am looking forward to more because I love talking about the inside out work.
Yeah,
I,
it's all connected. Most people just they go through business, they don't think about that. And I was one of those people for a really long time. So I really appreciate you having me on, and it was nice to connect on that level too.
yes, absolutely. And again, how do people get in touch with you?
Great
To
Smoke, yeah. So greysmokemedia.com, GREY smokemedia.com is the best place to reach out to us. And again, we're not to, not to turn people away, but we are sort of more of an elite marketing agency, and we work with people that are in, they want to get to that final echelon, predominantly law firms, but we are you need to have an established business ideally for 2 to 3 years with a great website and traffic already going, and then we help you get to that final level. And that's how we're set up, and we will be set up like that into perpetuity, let's say.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your music, because
Oh, yes. Thank
the
you so much. I would love to.
frame, I was like, is this the right person? Because I'm seeing lawyer and then I'm seeing music, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah, so I had a spiritual awakening last year, and I knew that I was meant to do something on earth besides marketing and other endeavors that I had pursued. But for a long time, I was trying to figure out my purpose on earth. So I was a radio television producer, I was on television, I was doing some podcasting, and I just kind of was feverishly looking for the reason I was on earth. And I felt like there was this fire inside of me that just felt like it was searching for it. And that, I'm not one to really watch a lot of TV or radio or listen to the radio. I'm kind of just a nerd, so I like to learn things. And I connected spiritually, and I had been trying to write music and I couldn't. And once I connected spiritually through manifestation, meditation, I almost was channeling it to the point where I would wake up sometimes at 2, 3 in the morning with an entire chorus of a song and just sing the whole thing into my phone, sort of like a out of body experience that I couldn't explain. And it was happening to me over and over. And suddenly, as I continued looking into this stuff, I was the guy who couldn't write a song. And then I was the guy who could write a song in 20 minutes and it was on the radio. And that all happened in less than a year. Since it's only been 10 months since I started making music, I've released 19th song comes out on May 2nd. It's called American Dream, and it's reflecting on moving to America, knowing very few people, and what it's been like dating and meeting people and connecting with them energetically. And the song kind of oscillates between, it's very dreamy and ethereal and beautiful. It's got some spoken word affirmation at the beginning, but then like every song, it goes into a bridge, and there's a truth about mental health and self-loathing. And that's what artists really, the great artists that I love, that I grew up on, they really just bleed out the lyrics. That's how I call it. So I am going to be releasing another 5 songs before the end of the year under Jordan Power, which is my Spotify name. And people can check it out on any platform, Apple Music or wherever they get their music. They're all on there. And I really want to build, I'm just going to keep going, but I really want to build a movement with my music. I want us to have the concert that starts with breath work and a meditation, and we put our phones away, and we've got some sound healing going on, and then the concert starts, and then our merch would be things that would heal you physically. Like, I use a shower filter, so I'd sell things like that. So I have a larger kind of picture I want to build where I'm healing people with the music and then teaching them how I healed myself physically and spiritually. And that's been my predominant focus over the past little while. And it's my highest purpose. It's the thing I love the most. And the songs are just a kind of a mix of my life experiences, everything from dating, but also resilience and never giving up and dreaming big and loss of friendships. A lot of pain, but it's the catharsis is incredible.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad we met, because I
Yeah, me
love
too.
it, and I love music that have meaning,
Hmm.
that makes me feel something. You know what I'm saying? So I will definitely be following you.
Thank you.
And when that when your music drop, we need to come back.
100%. I'm releasing. Yeah, so my next song is May. I don't know when this will come out. May 2nd, American Dream, and then I'll be releasing a song about a month after that called Crazy. And I've hired a PR firm to also push me on podcasts as my other personality, and then the radio and blog. So the
Yeah.
plan is to become famous, but it's a daunting task a little bit, but I think I can do it.
Oh, you can do it. You've done so much already.
Thank
And
you.
when it's spiritually driven, there's no losing.
Right. Exactly.
There's no losing. Wow. So thank you so much, Jordan, for joining me today. I'm so glad that we met. And, we talked about your business. We also got into some inner stuff, and I'm really, really enjoyed that. So
Me
thank
as
you
well.
so
Thanks for
much.
having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you, audience, for tuning in.